All right, all right. Welcome everybody to another episode. So this week I am actually on somebody else's podcast that I would share with you. Justin Stoddart. Nice enough to have me on. He is a coach that coaches people in the real estate business. He actually has six kids, which is insane. So I complain about two kids. He has six kids. And we just kind of jumped in and talked a lot of stuff. But one of the things we really focused on and talked about it, we talked about my background, all that. That's why I want to share this, is your network. You know, they say your network is your net worth. Your network can change you. But we talked about having a solid network and spending the time, the money, the energy to go out and meet all these people, be around all these amazing people that are out there outside of your own people. So yes, you might have to get on planes and trains and automobiles and get out of your city and spend money and invest back in yourself and go discover amazing people. Whether, you know, you want to write a book, you want to start a podcast, you want to learn about marketing, you want to get into real estate, you want to get into crypto, you want to get stock trading, you want to be anything. Like there's all these great meetups and all these wonderful people that are maybe outside of your group, your sphere of influence, and you got to get out there. And yes, you might have to go pay to be around them because somebody's going to throw an amazing event and bring everybody together. And why would I pay for people? Well, that's how it works, guys. Nobody's doing it for free. It costs money to throw these events and put people together. So not only did you get the group of people together that I've had the opportunity to meet so many great people that have changed my life, that are friends in my life, but we get to come together. We get to share, 2-3 days together. And then obviously we become friends. You have dinners and calls and Zooms and meetups and hang out with the families. And then, whoever the event you're at, they're bringing amazing speakers and people to help influence you in a positive way, maybe impacting your life, and then just bring you guys together. Then you have breakout sessions. So anyways, being around amazing people, having amazing networks is huge. It's a game changer. That's what we talked about. So Justin was, like I said, nice enough to have me on his podcast. And, we kind of went through that. So this one's short. It's about 30 minutes because ours usually go for a little bit longer. And I hope you guys enjoy it. But that's it. But what else is going on with you guys out there in the world? What is happening out there? Crazy stuff. So if you guys, real quick, before I jump in, if you have not got on my weekly email, do that. Same with Krystle. There's a lot of good information coming out weekly. If you did not get my data over drama, it's going to be coming out PDF. I'll be emailing it, putting it out there viral, and the video. You must go watch that, share with people. Speaking of sharing, commenting, liking, please do me a favor. Keep sharing our podcast, like it, comment. We love all your feedback. Appreciate the support. Without further ado, here's Justin with Think Bigger Real Estate Podcast. Thanks for having me on again. Hope you guys enjoy. See you guys soon.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Excited about today's episode. Again, we're going to be talking about building a powerful network. And I'm excited to introduce today's guest. His name is Kenny Simpson. He is out of the San Diego market, and he is a top producing lender for over 20 years. He's been doing giant sized loans and just some great building business down in that part of the world. He's also a top podcaster. Also has some incredible passive income from an investment portfolio that is enviable. And again, built one of the most influential networks in that area and beyond. So excited to have you on the show today. Kenny, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Justin. Looking forward to this. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I was so impressed with the conversation we had just recently that I knew I wanted to get what you have to share out to a larger audience. So again, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. Let's dive right in. Tell us quickly kind of your background in lending. I know you've been doing it for 20 plus years, kind of large loans. Tell us a little bit more about that. And here's the principle that I want everybody to know. This isn't just sharing this for sharing its sake, but the first principle that we're going to share about building a powerful network is embedded in what Kenny is going to tell us right here. So go for it, Kenny. Tell us about your lending background.
Yeah. So thanks. So quickly started in 2004 as a broker. And then fast forward today was broker, direct lender, and I'm by choice, I'm broker today. So I actually ended up connecting with my wife about 15 years ago. So she does commercial, I do residential. I always talk about both of us because we work together. We're a team. So combined, we've done about $3 billion of loans. So any of you guys understand loans or volume, that's kind of what we've done. And I focus on the 1 to 4. She focuses on 5+ multifamily and, anything in commercial. And we kind of just have our teams, and my team I'm able to, be here doing this with you, and a lot of marketing and content and networking, which we're going to get into. So I've kind of built a team out in a system where I don't have to be in the business, 24/7. I can do other things.
So here's the first principle that I want everybody to learn from this is that oftentimes we think of networking as go out to a Chamber of Commerce event, go join a BNI group, and you're going to go get to know people. And here's the alternative strategy that I want you to think about that the most influential people in the world do is instead of spending time out getting to know people for getting to know people's sake, is go build something cool, right? Go actually spend time getting really good at something. And what will end up happening is you're on that journey is you'll start to meet some really cool people, right? You'll meet other people that aren't just out there trying to get to know more people. You'll get to know people who are strategically aligned and are also doing really cool things. I think that's a great lesson that really stands out to me from our conversation, Kenny, is that the networks that you're hanging out in wouldn't be relevant to you, and you wouldn't be relevant to them if you weren't already doing great things in the lending and in the investment space. So let's talk a little bit about your investment portfolio, kind of what you and your wife have done. Because again, it's one thing to teach finance and offer finance at a high level. It's another thing to actually implement it into your business and life and actually have steady streams of passive income that most people would envy. Talk to us a little bit about how you guys got involved in that, so we kind of get a glimpse of that side of your business as well.
Yeah, it's actually a really good point. We were pretty bad at marketing. We were pretty bad at networking back in the day when we met. But what we did do is when we met was actually in the financial crash. So we just knew we got to get to work and figure out, what we're going to do here because everything was doom and gloom, right? Mm-hmm. And so we just went to work, and we literally worked really, really hard for, gosh, I want to say, probably a good solid 8 years, and just worked hard, gave good service, started investing in real estate, started a property management company. So after all that said and done, we took a property management company from 0 to 1,500 units with not really asking, just organically grew in 3 years, which is crazy. Help clients build portfolios. And during that time, right after the crash, we bought a house. We actually flipped that, made about $500,000, started dumping that into multifamily. And then we took other money, started investing, and that turned into over a $20 million portfolio, which spins off, give or take about $25,000+ net to us a month. So it's good. We built that, and we help people build portfolios and do the property management. And what I learned from all that is basically head down, working really hard. And you kind of mentioned hey, I popped my head up one day and I said, we sold a property management company. I said, I need to get into this marketing, and I didn't even know what that was. I landed in Gary Vee's office. He said, go back to San Diego and give it all away. Started a podcast, started sharing our story of what we've done. And that's kind of how it all happened. People came and found us and said, I didn't know you guys did this. I didn't know you did that. I didn't really realize I was supposed to tell everybody what I did. But when I did share that, to your point, that's where people said, wait a minute. I want to learn more. Wait a minute. I want to talk to you. Wait a minute. I want to work with you. Wait a minute. I want you to teach me how you did that. And so that's kind of how I landed here today.
So it's funny, your language. I popped into Gary Vee's office. I can't remember the exact verbiage that you use, but back to my point is that you don't get into Gary Vee's office by just wanting to go build a powerful network. You actually have to do some cool stuff to either write the check to get in that office and or just to have the credentials to where Gary's interested in talking to you. For those who don't know Gary Vee, you've been living under a rock, probably the foremost marketer of our time. The guy's absolutely brilliant. My point is that Kenny went to work. He and his wife went to work to build something really cool. And they said, now, how do we get the word out to more, right? And it was because of what you had built and the checks you were able to write, right? And the kind of the level of achievement that you had arrived at that gave you the opportunity to now have a network that most people will never get access to.
Yeah. The one thing I learned is we never paid for help or coaching. Shame on us. And I would have done that way earlier, because somebody says, if you had $25,000 today, what would you invest in? And I'm like 100% myself. and probably a coach to take me to the next level. Just like a buddy of mine, Billy Jean, posted the other day, is he's like, when I was stuck at 1 million and you want to go to 10 million or 3 million, he goes, instead of me trying to figure out, I just went and paid a coach $40,000 and went from A to Z faster. Right. So like you said, you're getting into these networks either by invite or by paying, but honestly, both ways is all good. And if somebody's really good at what they do and they're really good at coaching you, they're most likely going to charge you. And if you think that's crazy, well, the results you probably get from paying somebody or learning that is crazy. So I was crazy not to do it sooner. And that's where we ended up. I ended up doing Gary Vee. Then I ended up plowing into different groups and landed into Avenger 100 Mil. And that group changed my mind, my mindset. And like we were talking about on Friday, we think there's this income cap where I'm going to be stuck here, stuck there. And then you get around people that you're like, well, they're no different than me. They breathe the same way. They talk the same way. How are they making so much more money? And it was really, they went around groups and changed their mindset. So I was like, go figure. So more people have coaches, I think, than people believe or even realize. And that's why I realized all these top guys, they're paying somebody too. So they stay at the top and they keep growing their game. So that's networking for you. It's a different way. And I wanted the fast track and I want to be around the right people. So I'm willing to pay, or I'm willing to get invited, or all the above.
It's so funny. I had 2 conversations today. One with a coaching client who said, hey, market's tight, can't do it. Another one said, I don't care what it takes, I'm staying in. And it was really interesting, right? Because market's different for different people, right? Depending upon kind of how they're showing up. But I think it can be a unique and even challenging market for many. And it was so interesting because the one who's opting out, right? I wish her well, gave her total my bless, you're going to do great. But she's shutting down not just the access to the coaching, but access to the network. So another professional that I also coach, she was asking about something that was completely unrelated to her business. And she's actually starting an entirely different business. And as we're having a conversation, I realized I have a lot to offer here, right? And it's completely outside of what I have agreed to coach her on. But because she's in my circle, I'm more than willing to share whatever. Now, that's true of most people, this podcast included, right? I give away a lot of free stuff here.
I bet. Yeah.
But the reality is, when you find people who you believe you can learn from, right? Sometimes we look at it too small of dollars and cents. Will I get a return this month? And will I get a return next month? Which you absolutely have to have those conversations. I totally respect that. But I also think that, myself included, oftentimes we think too small, is we're what conversations will I be having with this person that I will not be having with other people? And what rooms can this person get me into that nobody else could get me into, right? And we don't think about that. We don't think about when hiring a coach or a mentor or help, is that if we open up our minds a little bit and realize that we are one introduction away from most people, then all of a sudden we have to ask ourselves, who am I seeking introductions from? Because if it's just the people in my office that work in my company, my coworkers, those conversations aren't going to be very elevated from where you're already at. But if you hire a coach who has a bigger network than you, now that one introduction away to somebody else could absolutely change your zip code. It could change everything about your entire life. But oftentimes we're thinking through a lens too small of can I learn that free on YouTube? Or could I get that for free over here? Right? It's just it's such small thinking. And I get it. We all have to be careful, cash flow, et cetera. But this was just, these 2 conversations were in such opposition to each other that I thought to myself, this is a great lesson for me, right? This is a really great lesson for me of where am I investing, and am I really investing in myself and in the networks that I can get access to?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really changed my life. I really went heavy into them. I'm still part of one now. And my wife, Krystle, we're launching a course, and it's kind of her turn because she kind of let me run for the last 3 years doing a lot of stuff. And it is busy because I was traveling in this. So she hired a coach. It's funny you mentioned about her coach. I won't mention names or anything, but her coach is really big in the investment space, like stocks, but she's also really, really good at launching webinars and making money that way. Right. And so she 3-4 years ago wasn't doing well with her business, her coach, and she went and put $30,000 on her credit card to hire a coach, and her husband lost it on her. I'm like, are you crazy? Well, today that lady has been personally coached by some of the best people. Heard of ClickFunnels, Russell that owns that, but her business went from like zero and she's doing $10 million a year in her webinar space. And so just to paint the example is, so I know how much she spent on coaching. I know who she's been around. So we can now go pay her a fraction of what she spend a fraction of the time. And that's kind of how I say you can almost hack time is you, like you said, she could say, no, you got to do A, B, C. How do you, and I don't have to question her because I know she's tried A through Z and she says, do this. And you might go, I don't understand it. You don't need to understand it. This is how it works. And we can go spend 2-3 years, or you can get there in 2-3 months. Literally, that's the game. And I get it. Cash flow is tough. You got to believe in yourself. I understand it. But I would tell people, if you're a realtor, if you're anybody watching and you're looking at coaching, go get a side hustle, get an Uber, pay for that monthly fee. I'm telling you, it will change your life, especially if you implement what Justin or anybody says. That is the game changer. And it's been for me.
Oftentimes I'll ask at the end of this episode, which will be a good kind of heads up for you. I'll ask at the end of the episode, which is, what is it that you do to continue to be a big thinker, right? Continue to expand your possibilities. And a answer that oftentimes comes back is, right, well, like I'm the sum average of the 5 people I spend the most time with. And everybody knows that answer, right? Yet I believe that all too few of us really think through how we can have more of an influence over that than we think, right? Kind of back to your point of like, okay, I can look around at the people who are just naturally within my kind of reach, or we can say, okay, if that's true, and I think enough successful people have quoted that, right, going on 400 now, right, roughly, just from this podcast alone, have validated it. Like, it has a lot to do with your network, right? Oh, and if you say that, then like, how do you then just simply associate with 5 different people, right? It doesn't mean you cut off all relationships with people who you love, but during your workday, you do have the ability to either work your way in by building cool things, right? Or by paying your way in, right? By making the investment to get access to those people. I mean, I think about some of the most valuable relationships that I'm in right now are because I authored a book. Someone read the book and said, my goodness, we need to have a conversation. That's now, awesome. Keep in mind that I was spending a year for 2 hours every morning before I went to my day job to write that book. So during that point in time, there was no return. And I spent, $20,000+ for the publisher, all that to get that to a point where there was no promise of anything. Nobody could have ever liked it. Right. But I believe that I had something inside of me that needed to get out. And even if that's all that it did, it would have been worth it. Right. But since then, it's opened up an entire world because a lot of people have resonated with that and they want to either partner or they want me to speak. And like all kinds of stuff has happened because, like with your situation, Kenny, you went to work to build something that you believe was cool, right? And as a result, it's opened up all kinds of stuff. So with that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but I also want to talk about your podcast journey, because I think that there's some interesting lessons there as well for people.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to say too is we never really marketed. We were always referral only. And I know maybe a lot of people watching this are in real estate and sales. And so that was great. But then somebody came to me and said, well, Kenny, you're really good at what you do. You get 98% referrals. Don't you think you should let the rest of the world know you're that good? And I was like, yeah, And so one of the reasons the coaches I'm around is some with, hey, maybe scaling or this. But what I learned being around a lot of these people is it's branding yourself, it's getting out there, it's networking, but it's also, sending your emails, doing your posts, doing your videos. And, my big thing is email, video, and social and posting. And so just being consistent with that and watching other people that I know jump in and be consistent and watch them grow their brand and their income. I was like, well, this works. So I did this over the last few years. And, that's how we landed here. Somebody found me, they introduced us, right? So that's exactly how it is from networking. So that would, one thing I'd say is, what are you doing outside of networking? But you can sit here and do these things, email, video, write a book, all those things. So share your experiences, let people know who you are. And I always tell people, we always forget, remind your audience, remind your people, remind who you're working with. Oh, I'm a loan officer. I finance 1 to 4 unit properties. Do they know who you are and exactly what you do? Because I always assumed they did. And you got to keep reminding people, like, it's that simple of a message. So it's not overcomplicated. It's very simple. But the biggest factor is it's consistency. And so that's how kind of like the podcast got started. Literally, like, one of the guys in the group that I was there with, Gary Vee, he basically did a podcast. I called him up. He sent me the link. I bought all the stuff. and I just started interviewing people. We had a different name at the time, and we were kind of all over with our podcast. And then we really started focusing on the brand and everything. And we got a little bit more hyper focused into real estate. But that podcast, whether you want to call it makes you famous, makes you popular, whatever, it makes you more well-known, and you get to have conversations. I think we were talking about this too, Justin, is a lot of these people we talk to, if you want an hour of their time, they don't know you, you got to pay them $10,000, maybe a Gary Vee, $25,000 an hour, or a Grant Cardone, $25,000 an hour for their time. And so when you get them on a podcast and they charge you $0 for their time, and you can ask the questions you want and have a little side banter, and maybe they introduce you, do you know the value of that? So I started realizing all these people I get to have an hour conversation with. And then I always go, oh, I'll be in your city. Let's go for dinner. Let's go for a drink. Let's go chat. It's literally changed the game, and people love it because you're taking them and you're putting them out there. So there's so many ways to win right now with like technology and all these, like this phone we have at our hand. It's unbelievable. And if you're promoting somebody else and you get good at it, like it's pretty easy to get people on.
I think about, and keep in mind that compared to some of the bigger names out there, I'll say I'm super small potatoes, right?
Yeah.
But I will say that there are people out there who are just getting started. Now, I have a 5-year head start on you when it comes to podcasts. But I asked myself, why wouldn't everybody do this? I'm not here to promote podcasts nor writing a book. Like, sure, if those are your things, do it, right? Great. I'm not trying to dissuade you from doing that, nor am I trying to persuade you from doing that. But what I am saying is, in order to get and really build a tremendous network, like there has to be some substance behind what you're doing. It can't just be that like you want to pick someone's brain for a while. By the way, like that's a really bad invitation, by the way. Like it's very one-sided. Hey, can I take you to coffee and pick your brain? That person whose brain you want to pick does not need more coffee. And they definitely are not like having an abundance of time that they just want to give it away. Now, maybe they're at a spot in their career where there's some legacy there and they enjoy that. But I'm telling you, it's not a very equal like value exchange. You're not giving anything in return. And if you want to be in network with those people, right, a great way is to build a platform that people can come on and highlight and demonstrate what they talk about. Now, that doesn't build overnight. So I think about what holds people back from starting some of building something cool, something that will allow you to highlight other people or for your ideas to be known. And I think a lot of people, Kenny, maybe you can speak to this, they're really uncomfortable being bad. Like at first, like I sucked at first, right?
Yeah.
Some might argue I still suck, and I'm okay with that, right? But the reality is like you just kind of have to be bad before you're ever going to be comfortable, let alone good, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm not the best writer. I'm not the best speaker. I had like learning disabilities growing up. And so I was like, you put a camera in front of me or this, I was completely like, get that out of here. And then people are like, well, how'd you do it? I said, I literally looked at myself in the mirror and said, if I'm going to do this, you got to get over yourself. And, fast forward today, we have like a PR firm that we're getting in, and I've done, I think like 4 live TVs. And, just a couple of weeks ago, I did a live with CBS nationally news right here. And, you did that, tell me 3 years ago, I'd have freaked out. I mean, people are like, you nervous? I said, no, I'm more nervous the internet's going to go out. So you have to start somewhere. You're probably going to suck. If you don't suck, kudos to you. And you get better and better and better. And I'll tell you, the more interviews you do, and this, Justin, the more you learn how to talk and communicate with people better too, because you're learning. And then the other thing is just getting in front of people is easy. It's like you said, the people that you want to take to coffee or dinner or lunch, they can buy their own dinner or lunch. And honestly, if they want to go to coffee or dinners and that, they want to go with their family or friends, just being honest. But if you can say, hey, I'd like to get you on my podcast or an interview, and then I'd like to take that and snip it up and put it out to the world and promote you, would you be willing to do that? They're like, heck yeah. So you just have to understand the difference. And so really busy people that are really good, like you said, you got to give some value add, and it's hard for us to bring value to them. Maybe an introduction's a good way, right? But also promoting them, if they have a book launch or a course or anything going on or just normal, people love to be promoted, and a lot of them love to talk about themselves. So that's the way that you found and I found where there's super value, and it really is a game changer. But what I love about it is like you able to specifically ask the questions that maybe you or your audience would want, And maybe you're coming from a different, like lens or perspective than maybe somebody else interviewed them.
So good. And I think, yeah, you bring up some great points. When I think back about this lesson that I learned is that it would have been, I could have never invited Grant Cardone to come on a podcast that I was going to create. Right. And I can never ask someone to read a book that I'm going to write. People don't care about what you're going to do. They care about what you've done. And in order to get to that point where you have something to offer, again, you have to be okay not being good at first. And if that is too much for your ego, you got to get over that. Do you want to have an ego, or you want to have wealth? Because it's really hard to have both. And I think when you could really get comfortable with the fact of like, okay, this is what I'm really what I want to be good at. I want to be known as an author. I want to be known as a top podcast host. I want to be known as a top producer. I want to be known as a marketing expert. Like, you're probably going to have to either put in the years of getting good at it, and probably you're going to have to pay for some expertise for some other people to help you along the path. And if you're not willing to do that and suck at first, then mediocrity is might be your path, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that are just going along, offering good service to their clients and taking care of their clients and working by referral. And that's not a terrible thing. I don't want to down that, but I do believe that there are people listening to this saying like, how do I break through? How do I get beyond that? Like, I would love to have a team where I could be spending time doing this, but I just can't break through. And at some point, you're going to have to invest in yourself. And at some point, you're going to have to invest in coaching and help and mentors that will help expand your possibilities and get you to another level.
Yeah, I was stuck there too. I was stuck at, we did a lot of stuff in real estate, all that, but I felt stuck. And then in 2019, I really was like, okay, we're really getting the podcast and the content. I said, I'm really going to focus on loans, because before that, we did a lot of business, but I was doing a lot of things in real estate, and I get it. We're making good money and there's a lot of opportunity. So now I'm so focused on my loan. I built the team out. So I literally have to do very minimal, talk to the client. But what I'm working all day is writing blogs and doing content and bringing in referral partners to teach them how to do what I've done, or doing presentations I'll do this week. It's really fun. And I always wanted to be in this position, but it was a lot of hard work. There's definitely some sacrifice. Coaching would definitely get you there faster. And that's what you're doing, is you're spending money. But what you guys don't realize is that you think it's an expense. That's what you realize when coaching becomes an investment. That's when you think about it differently. Just like somebody told me, that's a really big marketer here, we don't spend money on marketing. He goes, because you think it's an expense, but you'll go put a lot of money down on a multifamily property that pays you. I said, yeah. He goes, well, marketing or getting better and all that, it's an investment. And once you learn that you pay, then, you get the coaching, you do the marketing, and you get a return on that, you start to realize like, oh, what if I did this coaching, or what if I did this marketing? But there is trials, there's errors, it's hard work. It's not easy. But like you said, if you're willing to go down the road and do that, it's definitely a game changer, a life changer. And then you look at people that are at the top of their game in anything. They just didn't wake up and get there. They most likely had some mentors, some coaching. They had some serious failures and flops, but they just stayed persistent, and they eye on the prize and knew that I know where I'm going. I just got to keep plugging along, and you can get there. And obviously it can be a lot easier with some help. But if you're willing to do the work and put the time in, especially in a market like today, especially in real estate, when people are getting out or people are getting discouraged, this is the time. I'm not even saying double down on spending on a coach or marketing, but this is the time to double down on market share and get more people, more of this. How are you going to do that? You got to put yourself out there way more. And if you don't know how to do that, you're gonna have to hire somebody to teach you and, coach. And if you do know how to do that, you're gonna have to figure out how to do all the stuff like we do, right? And shoot the content, edit it, and get it out there. So either or, I feel like everybody's right around the corner. Sometimes they just don't know exactly what to do, and they need that little push.
I love it. I think one of the things that I've learned from coaching and from mentors is just mood management. So for example, I hopped on Facebook just quickly this morning. I read somebody's post, and he was sharing about the possibilities of what may come with our economy. And it put me in a bad place for a few minutes. And I was like, oh crap. And it kind of made me uneasy. And I realized where I was at. And immediately I realized my activity level and my interest level in doing the activities that I know will produce results in any economy. I started to pull back from doing those. And I was aware enough to realize, like, got it. There, sure, like the economy's in uncertain places, geopolitical uncertain places. It doesn't matter. Those professionals who can maintain their mindset regardless of what's happening on the outside, while everybody else is hunkering for cover, while everyone else is, staring at their own navels, trying to figure out like what could be, like what might be, like others are charging forward. And if you can just simply surround yourself with people who, sure, give you a dose of reality of what's actually happening, but yet keep their foot on the pedal of gaining market share, of adding value, of solving problems. Times like these, there are more problems to solve, and people they follow people who can lead them through difficult times. So if you're saying that the opportunity is diminishing, no, opportunity is increasing because more and more leaders are opting out, saying, I don't know if now's a good time to do this. Whereas the right leaders, guys like Kenny, are saying, charge, full speed ahead. Like, this is a time to gain market share. Sure, we need to watch our budget. Sure, we need to be aware of what's happening. Sure, we need to navigate deals and clients and situations. Absolutely all of the above. And people need leadership more than ever right now. And if you ever want to get ahead, you ought to be like licking your chops. Like my dad taught me this lesson. He's built an 8-figure company from like nothing, from a really, really simple background. Like, you'd laugh if you heard his background. And no college education, nothing. But he said, I love times like these. He's been through cycles. He's in his 60s. He's like, I love times like these because everybody else gets so fearful, they just get paralyzed. And he said, not me. I've just realized there's opportunity on the other side of this. And if I can just keep my foot on the gas through this, I'll be so far ahead of everybody else who stopped to pause and wait. And it's just such great advice.
Yeah, and it comes back to being around the right people that know where the opportunity is, know where it exists, the right mindset. And don't get me wrong, it's not like everybody ultra successful or this or that. They're all going through it. Maybe having to cut staff or make this change or that. The point is, we're all living in the same world. We all have 24 hours. We do have the ability to connect, maybe not with all the same people, but a lot of the same people, more than people think. Yeah. And like you said, there is a lot of opportunity now. Why? Because a lot of people pull back. Like if you just take, the loan business, 21% of NMLS licenses did not get renewed in 2022. That's 21% of LOs out of the business. This year, I'm sure there's more. So if you're a real estate agent or anybody, people are getting out of the business. So where are those clients? Where are those people going to? Who are they going to use? Who's in front of them? And so I just think it's just a massive opportunity right now. You have to be very focused. And if you're around the right people that are, that are doing the right content, putting out the right videos, saying the right things, sending out the blog, doing the things that matter, that get in front of people, that's the big thing. And right now, as you mentioned, I study a lot of data. I put a lot of content out, whether it's on social, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's on email. I'm trying to be the go-to guy where people go, oh, I'm just going to go call Kenny. I'm going to look at Kenny's video. I'm going to watch my email, because I've decided, I never thought I'd be spending, like you spent 2 hours a morning writing a book for 2 years. I spent a lot of time thinking about content, putting it together, writing it, sending it out there, because people need to hear it. And what I realize is that the media says one thing, the reality is another thing. And I'm just study the data, and I'm like, well, let's just look at the data. Let's not look at the media. And the media, yeah, you can get consumed in that stuff. And if you look at a lot of it and you go back 6 months or a year, what people said, the doom and glooms or whatever it is, most of it's incorrect because they're just trying to sell stories. I just want to look at the data. I want to give my clients confidence. They'll call me up, for example, right, Justin, say, hey, Kenny, talk to my uncle, and I'm not going to buy because he says like 2008. I go, great. I just curiosity. Did he explain to you why it's like 2008? Well, kind of. I'm like, what kind of data did he give you? What? Well, didn't he give you any data? No. Oh, so did he told you in San Diego in 2008, there's 27,000 homes listed on the market, right? What? And today there's 2,300 homes. What? He didn't tell you that? Oh no. Okay. That's nothing like 2008. That's my point is, if we know our information, we know our data, and we're hearing, the doom and glooms or this, because we're all dealing with it. If I know how to come back with something intelligent, just state data. I never give my opinion. People go, this guy knows what the heck he's talking about. I want to use you. I want to refer you. So I think it kind of goes back to what you're saying is, how did I learn this? How did I get there? It's by watching other people. I'm like, why am I watching this person? Why do I listen to his webinar? Why do I listen to his podcast? No wonder, because he sounds intelligent. He knows what he's talking about. I just started studying people and realized I want to put this message out. And, that's what it is. And like some of it, like we said, it could be coaching, it's learning, but you got to learn it from somewhere. And if you're going to grow and get out there, I would rather be like, this is where we were, this is where we're going. There's this gap, and your clients or your people around you that gap's going to be filled with negativity, or it's going to be filled with positive and data and what's actually happening. And that's what I, choose to work on and deploy to my audience.
Again, back to this concept of get really good at something, like actually have something to offer, right? It could be, as I described, of authoring a book. It could be what Kenny described of like actually creating an incredible, podcast of his own, or it could be like you as a real estate agent getting really good at your craft to where you lead people. I think that's the essence of building a powerful network, is to actually become the best in the world at something, right? What is it? And I think in finding that, like you find your voice when you find out like, okay, this is how I can uniquely contribute to the world. This is how I can uniquely lead people to a better spot. Not only will you find that the riches are in the niches, right? There's great opportunity there financially, but more importantly, there's great fulfillment there. When you say, look, I've got a unique perspective here. And when I guide people down this path, they get great results, and I can really help people and help them understand things that the media isn't telling them. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a spot where you leave every day deeply fulfilled, because you're doing the work that you were uniquely positioned to do, which is a fantastic spot to be in.
No, 100% agree. And like I said, the more I went down this journey, the more I got around the right people, the more I got confident in myself, the more I got confident in my deliverability and being able to do this content thing. Because I tell you, what you're doing and I'm doing, the content thing, whether you're Joe Rogan or you're just Justin Kenny, I'm telling you, in our own little world, it's a game changer, because there's not, 95% of people that start podcasts fail. And the only reason why is probably because of passion, or they didn't get into it. But the ones that succeed, they've got a voice in their own, whether it's in their community of 100, community of 1,000, community of 10 million, it doesn't matter. And you're going to be known for something. And so it's little steps, little by little. And I think if you just keep at it, it's a game changer. And that's what I did. I just really decided I'm going to be committed to the social, to the content, to my business, to my team, to your family, everything. But once you decide that and kind of go all in, you don't need to look back, and then get yourself around the same like-minded people, whether it's locally or you meet up quarterly or on the phone or Zoom. I'm telling you, that is the game changer. And if you're thinking negative or you're thinking small, it's because you're just around the wrong people. I 100% believe that.
Perfect segue, Kenny. I'm gonna wrap us up here with this final question, which is, you are a big thinker. And keep in mind, we've been talking about this the whole time, so I don't expect anything completely original out of you, because you've already taught us so much about this topic. But what is it that Kenny Simpson does to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? What else can you share with us?
Honestly, it's a great question. I literally, I wake up every day and I'm like, I literally, I'm a guy that gets up at 3 o'clock, 3:30. And that's my mindset. But I'm like, how can I improve just a little bit today? Don't get me wrong. There's problems, there's issues. We all got them, right, Justin? But how can I just improve a little bit today? And I've been doing that over and over and over. And that little recipe, whether it's I went to the gym, or I read, or I, met a great client or had a good meeting or whatever, it's having that mindset every day. Every day is not going to be perfect. It's going to be tough. But if you continue to just push forward every day and try to be better every day at what you're focusing on, I'm telling you, it will in days and weeks and months and years, you'll look back and you will be in a completely different place in your life. I can't guarantee it, but that's happened to me, and I know it's happened to you.
Yeah. It's way too much evidence of people who are either on their way or have already arrived, who say that this is the path, right? This is the path. So I love it, Kenny. Thanks so much for everything you've shared here today. I appreciate you. Grateful that our paths have crossed, and excited to add you to my network, and appreciative of what you've added to this community, the Think Bigger Real Estate community. So I'm looking forward to lots more collaboration moving forward. So my pleasure, man.
Awesome.
And my final request of everybody listening here today are these 3 simple words, and they are: go think bigger. Kenny, thanks again for helping us do that today.
Thank you.